Okay, so for those, if it is your first time joining in our sessions, I would love to introduce myself. My name is Rozette. And my name is Rozette. I'm a mental health coach, and I'm the founder of Hope for Hope Initiative, which, no, don't do that. Yes, Hope for Hope Initiative, which rose on the hinge to promote and normalize that it is okay not to be okay, and to further create a global safe space for individuals to resonate with success stories from various mental health advocates through education and self-conscious awareness. So I normally invite guests from any corner of the world, and they come and they teach us. We learn together. So we've had, as I've mentioned here, we have Coach Barbie, and Coach Barbie is the one. She has been our speaker, I think once or twice. Is it twice? Sis? I think once. Yes, she should be joining, I think, very soon. So that's more of it. And today the topic of discussion is grief and loss. Now, most of the times when we speak about grief and loss, what we think of the first time is the loss of someone. But then when we actually speak of grief, it is grieving any type of loss. Now, there are many types of loss there, and losses are unique. They're okay, someone is writing once and looking forward to being hosted by you. Yes, sis, we'll host you very soon. Okay, so okay, just relax, Baba, relax. Okay, so when we talk about grief, any topic that we always discuss, we have to start with the meaning for us to understand what we're actually talking about. So when we speak of grief is just all the feelings and the thoughts that someone has when you lose someone or something that is important to you. Now, I love insisting the fact that it is to you, because it is something that has happened to you. It is your loss. Recently, something happened to me. Was it last year? Last year, I was moving from a house I had lived for 12 years. I had lived in the same house, same room, 12 years. And I was moving out of that house. And for some reasons, I don't know why, I found myself seriously grieving. So you see, if I explained to someone else that I was grieving leaving a house that I had lived in for a while, someone might see it as insignificant, and but to me, I was actually grieving. You understand? So that is the reason why we are saying it is you losing as in the loss of someone or something that is important to you. So if it's important to you, whatever it is important to you, you might end up grieving even something that another person might not grieve about. Okay, so I believe we are together on that part. So as I said, grief is just all the feelings and the thoughts that someone has when you lose someone or something that is important to you. Now, grief is multifaceted, okay? In some people, it can come around miscarriage, loss of a job, loss of a loved one. You can have a heartbreak and end of a relationship, or one being diagnosed with an illness. All of this comes with a sense of mourning, anxiety, trying to understand what's next. How do I move forward with this new reality? That's actually the reason as to why we end up grieving. Okay, yes. Now, grief can affect your physical and mental health. Grief is a reflection of a connection that has been lost. It's a connection that was there and now it has been lost. And that is why we end up grieving. Okay, grief is the most painful kind of love. I saw that quote somewhere and I was wondering, what do you mean most painful kind of love? And according to my understanding, the reason why you're grieving, let's say it is someone that you loved and then the person is no more. So it means you cannot express your love to them anymore. That is the reason why it makes it even more painful, Yes. So I would love us to dive. This topic is actually a very wide topic. So it means we can't touch everything within one Zoom session. Okay, our Zoom sessions are normally an hour, okay, maximum an hour, 15 minutes or so. So we can't touch every corner of this topic, but wherever we can touch, I'll try and touch anything that we can. Okay, so I'm sorry, you'll be giving me some time. Okay, otherwise, as we are here, all of us here, we are how many? 16 people. As we are here, I believe all of us have gone through a loss and have grieved in one way or the other. Is there anyone amongst us who has never grieved? Is there anyone who has never lost a loved one? Do we have anyone who has never lost a loved one? If you can speak, you can just go ahead. Yes. So, and I believe even the losses that you have had, the reactions were not the same in all the losses. That part is for sure, because we have different personalities. We have different, as a person who was lost, I lost my mom. I'm an orphan, actually. I lost my mom first, then I lost my dad, then I lost my sister. And there is one thing that was for sure. You are a family, all of you are a family, but the way you grieve is also different. Everyone was grieving differently. Everyone was grieving differently. I recall one of my brother, my elder brother. In fact, at some point, that the night before us burying my mom, he was almost fighting with everyone. He decided to go and drink, and he was high, and I don't know where he got the weapon from. He wanted to fight everyone, you know? So we all react we all grieve differently, depending on our different personalities. And okay. Yeah. Where's she?
Because she's on the phone, she's listening to you.
No, it's okay. So most probably she has joined. Okay. So what I would love to dive out right now, I want us to dive on the myths and facts about grief. There are so many myths around out there about grief and loss, you know? Okay, but now before we go to that, guys, I'm here with the kids, so they also want to talk. Baba, okay, so let me finish. When I want you guys, I'll call you. Okay, we have an agreement? Okay, good. So even the subtle losses in life can trigger a sense of grief. For example, you might grieve after moving away from a home, like my case, like the example I gave. Like you might grieve graduating from a college or changing jobs. You might find yourself grieving. We are all different. We have different personalities, so we react to things differently. But whatever your loss, it's personal to you. So don't feel ashamed about how you feel or believe that it's somehow only appropriate to grieve for certain things. If the person, animal, relationship, or situation was significant to you, it's normal to grieve the loss you're experiencing. So whatever the cause of your grief, though there are healthy ways to cope with the pain, and in time you can ease your sadness, and it can help you come into terms with your loss or find new meaning and eventually move on with your life. So the myths and facts about grief. Myth number one, that the pain, okay, so Barbara says every experience and person is different. Exactly, sis. So the first myth is the pain will go away faster if you ignore it. That's definitely a myth, and it's a typical lie. I suffered that so much when my mom died. I didn't want to cry. Now, my reason wasn't necessarily that I don't want to cry, but I think I was feeling as if they've killed my mom, so they're punishing me, and I will not cry for them to see me crying. I don't want them to see that I'm suffering the way they want me to suffer. You know, there was so much going on in my mind, I think, and I was forcing myself not to cry. You know, but the repercussion is even worse because I've been crying it's almost 15 years ago, and I think I cry until today. There are times when I just find myself off and I cry, you know? So I think allowing yourself to cry is one of the best things that you can do, but then we'll dive into that later. Okay, so myth number one, the pain will go faster if you ignore it. That's a lie. Trying to ignore your pain or keep it from surfacing will only make it worse in the long run. For real healing, it is necessary to face your grief and actively deal with it. Okay, so myth number two is it's important to be strong in the face of a loss. That's a typical lie. The fact is, feeling sad, frightened, or lonely is a normal reaction to loss. It is very normal. So crying doesn't mean you're weak. You don't need to protect your family or friends by putting on a brave front. I did that most of the time. Showing your true feelings can help them and you. So it is really important to show your true self, okay? So myth number three, if you don't cry, it means you aren't sorry about the loss. We are in the era of social media, and social media has its own way of dealing with people. If at all you've just lost someone, and you're not reacting the way they want you to react. You're not mourning the way they want you to mourn. Now they will start to, oh, she wasn't even crying. She wasn't crying much. She wasn't doing this. And they forget there are other reactions to losses other than crying. Crying is not the only reaction as in to show that you're grieving. There are people who react in other different ways. It is not just crying. Okay, so crying is a normal response to sadness, and it's not only one. Those who don't cry may feel the pain just as deeply as others. They may simply have other ways of showing it. Okay, so myth number 4, grieving should last about a year. Just a minute, I'm checking people in at the same time. Okay. Grieving should last about a year. There is no specific time frame for grieving. How long it takes differs from person to person. Okay, and Barbara says expressing emotions through crying is a natural and healthy process of grieving. That's very true, my sis. Okay, so myth number 5, I was in myth number 4. Grieving should last about a year. The fact is there is no specific time frame for grieving. How long it takes differs from person to person. So allow yourself to grieve. Allow yourself, however long it will take, allow yourself. You're the one feeling it. Allow yourself to grieve. Okay. Myth number 5, moving on with your life means forgetting about the loss. That's a myth. The fact is, moving on means you've accepted your loss, but that's not the same as forgetting. You can move on with your life and keep the memory of someone or something you lost as an important part of you. In fact, as we move through life, these memories can become more and more integral to defining the people we are. Okay, so those were the myths and the facts about grief and loss. Now, there are types of grief and loss. Okay. So I'll mention, since the experience of grieving following the loss of someone or something important to you tends to be unique to you, however, it's difficult to label any type of grief as either normal or abnormal. However, there are types of grief that fall outside the expected symptoms and reactions described above. So just give me a minute. I think there's someone who's in a noisy place, and I need to mute. I think it's my mama. Mama, I'll mute you. I think there's noise on your background. I'll just mute you. Okay. Yes, just a minute. Okay. So we are on the types of grief and losses. The first type is anticipatory grief. As the name suggests, anticipatory grief develops before a significant loss occurs rather than after. It's as if it's anticipated. I recall at some point, the company I was working, the first hospital I was working for, there was this lady, they were on the last stage of cancer. So what they decided to, all of them, they're anticipating, they know the mother, that time that you've been told that your mom has like a week, like a month to live. So this is what you will, they even prepared for it. She even had to do her wedding before time because she wanted her mom to be present in her wedding. They all did whatever they're doing, but they prepared themselves. As a matter of fact, she had to resign for the last week. They just wanted to be with their mom for the last week. So that is anticipated. So you know very well that we will lose her in this particular time or very soon. So it's as if now you're grieving, yes, but it is anticipated. That is the anticipatory grief. Okay. Yes, anticipatory grief can involve a mix of confusing emotions, particularly anger. Some people even equate it to giving up hope and refuse to allow themselves to grieve before their loss has occurred. However, anticipatory grief can also give you a chance to prepare for your loss. Like the example I've given, they had a chance to prepare for the loss, and resolve any unfinished businesses or say your goodbyes, for example. Okay, so that's the first type, anticipatory grief. The second one is disenfranchised grief. Disenfranchised grief can occur when your loss is devalued or stigmatized or cannot be openly mourned. Some people may minimize a loss of a job. I will give you a story. I've gone through very many losses, so I'll be giving most of the examples with my life myself. So it was in 2019. Then we've just been called on a meeting. So you've been called on a meeting and a paper is placed on the table and you're told you have two options, either to resign and you'll be paid for 3 months compulsory. What is it called? It is called redundancy. They will pay you for redundancy 3 months, but that's one option. And the next option is for you to be moved to a different Emirates. Like for the people who are in Dubai, we have 7 Emirates. So we are in Dubai. I live in Dubai and I was working in Dubai. And now we are supposed to move within 2 weeks. You're supposed to move to a different Emirates, which is Abu Dhabi, and you'll be paid half the salary you're being paid. That's the second offer. Remember, you're living in Dubai. Everything about you is in Dubai. Everything about you is Dubai. Your rent, your whatever you've paid, it's in Dubai. And now you're supposed to move to a different Emirates. It wasn't making sense. The department, we were 27, we were 24 people. 23 people decided to resign. So all of us, that was the easiest option, was to resign. So we resigned, but then now you are not prepared to losing that job, because there are some people who have loans. There's some people who you're not prepared to lose a job that you've been working. Maybe like for me, I had worked, it was my 8th year. Some people had been there for 10 years. The reactions we saw after that, as in when the HR called us, we were in 2 batches. So the first batch, we were like 10 people, and then the other batch, the rest of the people. By the time they finished with us and they left, the reactions that came, I'm telling you, people started crying, others were affected psychologically. They had to go and see a psychologist. We're in the hospital, right? So some are sick instantly, so they have to go and see the doctor, as in the reactions, because now, but some other people, if you see the reactions, because everybody was reacting differently. If you see the reactions of the way other people were reacting, you'll think, why are they overreacting? I mean, why would you end up seeing a psychologist because you've just been told that the job will not be there in the next 2 months, So, but in the next 2 weeks, but then we react differently as we have said, our reactions are different depending on who you are. It is unique, Now, in this disenfranchised grief, you could find the scenarios where you're a side chick and the guy has died. This was your loved one too, right? So you're secretly mourning and you have to mourn in secret. It means either you cannot tell people, okay, and then we find scenarios like, let's say, sometimes you can be grieving a friend and people will not, or you're even grieving a colleague. People will be wondering, why are you affected that much? So you find there are those grief that it is devalued. People don't see it as if it has so much value, like when someone has lost the wife, or someone has lost the mother, or sometimes you can be say, you know what, I've lost a friend of mine, or I've lost a neighbor. Then people will be looking at you, that was just a neighbor. I mean, that was just a neighbor. Why are you, they see it as if you're overreacting. So those are the disenfranchised. That is the type of disenfranchised grief. And the third one is the complicated grief. This part, the pain at a significant loss may never completely disappear, but it should ease up over time. When it doesn't, and it keeps you from resuming your daily life and relationships, it may be a sign of a complicated grief. Just as its name says, complicated grief usually arises from the death of a loved one, where the loss has left you stuck in a state of bereavement. You may be unable to accept your loved one has gone, search for them in familiar places, experience intense longing, etc. Yes, so it is complicated, as in it is more deeper. So Barbara says, we had a video trending on, okay, let me read that. 1 minute. I'm meeting people. I think there's someone who's in a noisy place. Okay. Just a minute. I just want to read the chat. Just give me a minute. Okay, while I'm opening the chat, I'm here to appreciate everyone who has joined. Let me just acknowledge you again. We have Agnes joining from Nairobi. We have Barbara joining from, Coach Barbara is joining from Zambia. We have Felistas, I think he's joining from Nairobi, if I'm not wrong. We have Caroline joining from Nairobi. We have, ooh, it's moving. Okay. And then we have, we have Helen Masharia joining from Kenya. We have, I think it's Irene joining from Kenya, if I'm not wrong. We have Jackie joining from Dubai. We have Jessie joining from the US. We have, 1 minute. We have Justice joining from Dubai. Bro, you're welcome. We have Papa Fritz joining from Dubai. Papa Fritz, you're welcome. Okay, we have, 1 minute. We have Rosemary joining from Dubai. And who else do we have here? We have Sizlami. Siz, thank you for joining. She's joining from Dubai. We have Linda. I don't know where Linda is joining from exactly. We do have my in-law, Mwanje, is joining from Nairobi. We have Nancy joining from, okay, thank you. Okay, so Coach Barbara was actually saying, okay, let me just finish mentioning people. We have Nancy joining from Nairobi. We have my mom, Rose, joining from Kisumu, that's in Kenya. We have Patricia joining from Dubai. We have Rose Ngatiari joining from Nairobi. I hope I've mentioned everyone. Yes. Mwanje, where's your wife? Where's Joy? Okay, so I'll just read what the chat that somebody has written, and it is okay, it's Barbara. She says, we had a video trending on social media of a perceived side chick who went to grieve at the gravesite with flowers after 5 months from the time the man was buried. OMG. So that's exactly what we're talking about. So you see, now she has to grieve secretly. Yes, so she's grieving secretly. Wow, that's sad. That's sad. Okay. So you can help me reading. Okay. So my sister is telling me she'll be helping me read the chats when we need a chat to be read. Okay, so that's more of it. So the 3 types, we've said there is the complicated, there is the disenfranchised, which is of that side chick, and we have the anticipatory side chick. So what are the symptoms of grief and loss? So while loss affects people in different ways, many of us experience the following symptoms when we are grieving. Just remember that almost anything that you experience in the early stages of grief is normal, including feeling like you're going crazy, feeling like you're in a bad dream, or questioning your religious or spiritual beliefs. Okay, so we have emotional symptoms and we have physical symptoms. So in the emotional symptoms, we have shock and disbelief. Right after a loss, it can be very hard to accept what happened. Keep it there. Yes, it can be very hard to accept what happened. Okay, and someone is saying something. I have people from the grief support groups waiting to be let in. Oh, okay, sis, just a minute. Okay, my sister, this Coach Barbie has a 1 minute. Okay, so Coach Barbie has a grief support group, and she had invited them to join too. Okay, I've let them in, sis. I've let them in. Okay. Yes. So shock and disbelief. Right after a loss, it can be hard to accept what happened. You may feel numb, have trouble believing that the loss really happened, and even deny the truth. Now, you find if a pet or someone you have loved died, for example, you may keep expecting them to show up, even though you know they are gone. So an incident happened to me. I don't think I was even in shock and disbelief, but I think it was disbelief. Yes, because my dad had died. I had gone back home, buried my dad, and came back to Dubai. I think it was like a month later. I had gone, there is this specific shop where I used to buy suits for my dad. Okay, Linda says she's logging in from Kenya. Linda, you're welcome, you're welcome, you're welcome. Okay, so there is this particular shop I used to buy suits for my dad. For some reasons, I found myself in the in the shop. I had selected the suit already. When I'm going to pay, it so happened that I think there is something I wanted to ask about my dad. I think I wanted to clarify because I had been buying suits for him. So I wanted to confirm if, as in to choose between two colors, if I'm not wrong. So I wanted to ask him, Dad, which color would you prefer I choose for this time? When I was calling the phone and the line was off, then I'm wondering, do you know? And it was like a month after burial. So I think I was still in shock within that time. I think I was still in shock. I don't know, because in my mind I was thinking I have accepted it and I know, but for some reasons I was behaving that way. So I think there's some part of me that was still in shock and I just was still in disbelief, Yes. So another thing is another symptom is sadness. Profound sadness is probably the most universally experienced symptom of grief. You may have feelings of emptiness, despair, yearning, or deep loneliness. You may also cry a lot or feel emotionally unstable. Yes, another symptom is guilt. You may regret or feel guilty about things you did or didn't say or do. You may also feel guilty about certain feelings, feeling relieved. You see, the truth I will say, my mom was sick. My mom died first. So my mom was sick and she had been admitted. She was having an issue with losing blood. So she was just losing blood and the doctors can't find where the blood is going. So the last episode she had, so she was in the hospital, she's admitted. And I remember speaking to her the night. I think I spoke to her an hour or an hour and a half before she died. So when I was speaking to her, I had already planned with my sisters that I'll go back to Kenya, because I had traveled to Kenya and then took her to a hospital in Nairobi. And then, okay, okay, who's this? Okay, the types of grief are disenfranchised, complicated, and anticipatory. Somebody's asking a question. It's anticipatory grief. Okay, so I'll leave this. Thank you. Okay. Yes, I'm telling you. Okay, so the third type, this is Miss Helen asking, Helen Masharia. Yes, the third type is anticipatory. Anticipatory is the one that you've anticipated. Let's say someone is going through a long illness, and then let's say like people with cancer, you've been told that this person will be as in the person has a month to live or so. So it means you're anticipating, the person will be leaving at a certain time. Or let's say you have a pet that is aged, so anytime the pet could die, Yes. So I was talking about guilt. Yes, my mom. So I had spoken to her, I think an hour and a half or an hour before she died. When I spoke to her, I had traveled because it had happened, the incident of her losing blood and the doctors not finding it had happened the first episode. So by the time the second episode happened, I traveled to Nairobi. So when I went to Nairobi, I brought her. She was in Kisumu, so I brought her to Nairobi. I took her to a specialist, and then they checked and everything that was done. But the doctor was still asking the same question. Was saying the same thing. They don't know where the blood is going because she doesn't have any type of cancer. She doesn't have any type of blood disease or anything, So she had to later on move to the village again because she used to live in Kisumu. So this was actually the third episode. And then she was in the hospital again. And now it was too much for her. They had already, it was too much for her. So I remember that night, I was speaking to her and I told her, Ma, don't worry, I should be there within the next 2 days or so. And which is something she didn't like. No, Rozette, you don't have to come. If you come, the way our parents will reason. We are all Africans here, so we know the way our parents reason. So she said, no. So if you come, then who'll take care of me? Then as in who'll take care of me financially, because we are depending on you, And then, so she was saying that, then I realized it did not impress her, me going, But she kept crying of the pain she was going through. So that morning, when I was called and told that she has died, sincerely speaking, a part of me felt relieved. Now, I'm just being honest. The reason why I felt relieved, because there is nothing as painful as hearing your mom complain she's in pain. it is really painful, you know? So for me, when I heard that she had died, I am not happy for losing her, but I'm happy that she'll not be in pain again. So it means I have mixed feeling, but one of those feelings is I am a bit relieved that she will not be in pain again, you know? So I had to console, every time I have to console myself, but she was in pain, Rozette, she was in pain, Rozette. So would you rather she's here and she's in pain and crying the way she was crying, you know? So sometimes you'll find you'll be telling yourself, you know, you'll be telling yourself, you'll feel guilty because you felt relieved for losing her and yet you claimed you loved her, you know? Yes. Now, so the emotional symptoms that I've mentioned, the first one is shock and belief. The second one is sadness. The third one is guilt. The fourth one is fear. Now, a significant loss can trigger a host of worries and fears. If you've lost a partner, your job, or your home, for example, you may feel anxious, helpless, or insecure about the future. You may even have panic attacks. The death of a loved one can trigger fears about your own mortality or of facing life. Do you know there's you'll hear someone, let's say someone has died, and it's as if it is giving you a heads up that, you know what, life is short. It means you can also die anytime, you know? So it gives you that fear and all. Yes, that's where the fear comes in. Okay. And the other emotion is anger. The other symptom, it's anger. Even if the loss was nobody's fault, you may feel angry and resentful. If you lost a loved one, you may be angry with yourself or with God, with the doctors, or even the person who died for abandoning you. You may feel the need to blame someone. I've just mentioned this part of anger, and it has just reminded me. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Coach, for putting it there. At least for those who have not seen, they can see it. Okay. And yes, someone has put it down. So for what's her name, Miss Helen. Yes, Coach Bobby has put it down there, so you can see all the 3 types of grief. Okay. Yes. So when we talk about this place of anger, it has just reminded me, there was one musician in Kenya. She was actually Congolese, but she was called Angela Chibalonza. I'm sure those people in Kenya, everybody knows Angela Chibalonza. So when Angela died, you know, we loved Angela Chibalonza so much to an extent, a friend of me really made, I'm finding it funny when I'm saying it. It's not funny anyway. But she was actually angry with Angela Chibalonza. How can you allow yourself to die? You know, as if it's a choice. It's as if she just chose to die, you know? So when I saw this anger, I was like, okay, you see, now you're blaming God. It is either you're blaming God, you're blaming the person who has died. How can you leave her? How could you even? So she was asking, how can you just choose to die? Why would you, you know, why would you even allow yourself to die, you know? Yes. So those are emotional symptoms. 1 minute. Okay, so those are emotional symptoms, and we do have physical symptoms, which are the regular ones. We often think of grief as strictly emotional process, but grief often involves physical problems, including fatigue. We can have nausea, we can have lowered immunity, we can have weight loss or weight gain, we can have aches and pains, we can have insomnia. I believe insomnia will be the most one, you know, because you'll be hallucinating at some point, you know. Yes, and Barbara says, it's relatable. I said the same thing when my mother died. I was like, why did you have to die? Yeah, that's very true, sis. We end up blaming. Yes. Okay. So if you've heard about grief and loss, there are stages of grief. Now, these stages, actually, there is a psychiatrist who was called Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. She's a lady. She introduced what became known as the 5 stages of grief. These stages of grief were based on her studies of the feelings of patients facing terminal illness. But many people have generalized them to other types of negative life changes and losses, such as death of loved ones or a breakup. Okay. Now, these 5 stages, the acronym is DABDA. Is the first one is denial. Of course, when you've had someone, that is the time where you ask yourself, this can't be happening to me. You know, you're in denial. You don't believe that you're denying about the loss or passing of the loved one or the situation you're grieving. The other one is anger. You're upset about whatever loss you're experiencing. The other one is bargaining. Now you're questioning. I remember when my mom died, my grandma, who is the mother the mother of my mom, she was like, I am old. Why would you take her and leave me? Well, let's do an exchange. She was asking God to do an exchange. Take me and bring her back, you know? So you find yourself bargaining, which is the third stage. And then we have depression. This is the time where you say, I am too sad to do anything. So most of the time, this is the longest actually stage. It's the longest stage. Okay, and then we have acceptance. This is accepting, this is of this, as in you're accepting the change that has happened. Okay, just a minute, let me admit someone. Okay, okay. So those are the 5 stages, which is Dabda. The first one is denial, there is anger, there is bargaining, there is depression, and there is acceptance. But keep in mind that grief is a very unique and is very unique and unpredictable. You can move from one stage to the other and back to another. Don't feel any pressure to go through the stages. It doesn't have to, you don't have to go there. And at some point, not everybody goes through the stages. There are some people who don't even go through those stages, you know? Yes, thank you, Sis, for highlighting that. So there is no right way to go through it. There is no right way, there is no wrong way to grieve. Okay, so contrary to popular belief, you do not have to go through each stage in order to heal. In fact, some people resolve their grief without going through any of these stages. And if you do go through these stages of grief, you probably won't experience them in a neat or sequential order. So don't worry about what you should be feeling or which stage you're supposed to be in. Don't worry about that. You'll be giving me some time. I'm checking in, letting in people at the same time. Okay, so this psychiatrist, the one who invented this this, what do we call it, these stages, herself, she never intended for these stages to be a rigid framework that applies to everyone who mourns. In her last book, before her death, she actually said, of the 5 stages of grief, they were never meant to help tuck messy emotions into neat packages. Grieving is it's messy emotions. Don't try to package it to be neat. They are responses to loss that many people have, but there is not a typical response to loss, as there is no typical loss. Our grieving is as individuals as our lives are. So please note that we can't move on from grief. We move through, and you can move through it in a healthy way only if you're willing to sit and process the feelings and thoughts about the loss. Okay, just a minute as I check people in. Okay, yes, so we do have the grieving process. So as I said when we started, grief and loss is a very broad topic. We might not be able to capture everything, and if we don't finish anything, we can do a part 2 of the session, okay, in the next Zoom session. Okay, so the grieving process. Grieving is a highly individual experience. There is no right or wrong way to grieve. How you grieve depends on many matters, including your personality and coping style. We've said that, and it depends on your experiences, your faith, how significant the loss was to you. Yes, so how do we deal with the grieving process? While grieving a loss in an inevitable part of life, there are ways you can cope with the pain, come to terms with the grief, and eventually find a way to pick up the pieces and move on with your life. The first one, okay, so someone has added a side note. It's important to know that these stages are not necessarily experienced in a linear order. Okay, yes, and not everyone goes through all of them. Each person's grieving process is unique. Okay. Okay. Okay, so I have a secretary here, so she's telling me, she's giving me a signal and I'm not getting. Okay, I'll be keen next time. Okay, yes. Okay, so we have a writing secretary and we have the one who's nudging me here. Okay, so now how to deal with the grieving process. The first one is acknowledge your pain. You have to acknowledge your pain. If anything that you don't acknowledge, you cannot deal with it. That's a usual thing. Anything you don't acknowledge, you cannot deal with it. So for you to deal with the pain, you have to acknowledge it. Most of the times we hide it. We don't want to acknowledge it, Yes. So the second one is accept that grief can trigger many different and unexpected emotions. You have to accept that. So whenever you experience them, you are not acting in shock. you know, at least you are expectant. Okay. And the third one, understand that your grieving process will be unique to you. So don't allow people to teach you or guide you on how to grieve. Grieve, it is unique to you. So do you. Number 4, seek out face-to-face support from people who care about you, because there is this thing when people are grieving, most of the times you'll want to isolate yourself. So don't allow yourself to be isolated. Okay. Support yourself emotionally by taking care of yourself physically. Don't what is it called, self-sabotage yourself. Don't self-sabotage. Okay. Yes. Okay. And then the last one, recognize the difference between grief and depression, because you could be going through depression. So recognize the difference. Okay. So because our time is so much gone, I would love us to just share the tips and exercises that could help you if you've lost a loved one, or if you are the one who has lost a loved one, or you are the friend to the one who has lost a loved one. Okay. So the first one is, if you are the one who has lost a loved one, share with your support system what you're struggling. You know, most of the times we always have people around us who are willing to help us. But what I've come to realize, when someone, especially something to do with grief, people sometimes they really want to help you, but they don't know how to help you, or they don't know what to tell you. They don't know how to come through for you. You know, they're really willing to help you, but they don't know how to do it. And sometimes they wouldn't know if you actually also need their support too. So it is advisable for you to share with your support system that you're struggling. Let them know you're struggling. If you're struggling, let them know, you know what, I am struggling, you know. So that's one thing. Another thing, there is something I wrote here, while sharing your loss. Okay, because at some point when you'll be with people, you'll be sharing your loss. But when sharing your loss, while sharing your loss can make the burden of grief easier to carry, but doesn't mean that every time you interact with friends and family, you need to talk about your loss. Comfort can come from just being around others who care about you. The key note is, don't isolate yourself. Okay, so don't let it, because I've realized most of the times when we've gone through a loss, now we make everything be about us. I'm saying it from a very good place, you know. So everywhere you go now, you want the topic will be just about the loss. Don't make it that way too, because I've realized most of the time that when you want to console people and friends, you find they now the person who has gone through the loss, it is not that you're isolating yourself, but people might end up isolating you because they feel, you know, that energy is a little bit stressful and it is strenuous. So sometimes some people will be like, oh my goodness, I don't even know what to tell her, so I don't want to sit with her. No, let us just give her time. Let us just give her time to be alone. Let us just give her time, because they don't know how to handle that situation. So if you make it also easier for them, just let them know that you're struggling. And so long as people are around you, so it brings comfort within itself. So just allow it to be that way. Okay. Yes, sometimes, not every time, of course. Okay, another thing, accept that many people feel awkward when they're trying to comfort someone who's grieving. Grief can be confusing, sometimes frightening emotion for many people, especially if they haven't experienced a similar loss themselves. You know, sometimes people want to help you, but they don't know how to help you because they've not even gone through it. Sometimes they've not gone through the same one, you know, because I might have lost people in my life, but I've not gone through miscarriage. So I don't know how to console someone who's going through miscarriage, or someone who's going through divorce, or someone who has lost a pet. The other time I was with my friend, I don't know if she's logged in. I think I've not seen her. They lost a pet. My friend had isolated herself. Within 3 weeks, we couldn't see her. You cannot reach her. You try to reach her, you cannot reach her. To an extent, by the time I was seeing her, which was after that 3 weeks, we had to go where they had buried the pet. So we went where she had buried the pet because she just wanted to what is it called, to have a closure. So we went to where they had buried the pet. We had to drive there. She went there, she went down, she went the way you can, you've lost someone and you'll go to the burial site and you will go and vent out or have a closure. That's the exact thing she did. And after that, at least now she was a little bit reachable. you know. So sometimes you find like that, me, I didn't know, I've never lost, I'm not a lover of pet, I'm sorry, but I didn't even know what to tell her. I don't know how to speak to her. I didn't know how to handle her, so I was just there. Yes. So the second thing that you're supposed to do, the first one we've agreed is you share with your support system that you are struggling. The second one, if you don't have a strong support system, seek professional help. Now, seeking professional help is important because we do have a grief, they're called grief therapists. Okay, they are specialized, they are skilled on how to handle, how to take you through this journey. Okay, so sometimes it is advisable to use the professionals because they will use professional techniques to take you through this. Okay, so that's the second one. And the third one, find a support group. Like my friend here, Coach Barbie, she started a grief support group. Is it a grief support group? Yes. So you find support groups. Now, support groups are normally specific. You find there is a support group for widows, there is for orphans. So join the support groups if it's needed. Join it. You know, grief can be very lonely, even when you have loved ones around you. Sometimes you have loved ones around you, but you still feel lonely because for some reasons you feel they're not experiencing the same thing you're going through. So it's advisable to be with like-minded people who are going through the same thing you're going through, and that is only in the group, in the support groups. Okay. Yes, so those are three things. But then we do have exercises that you can do in the process of dealing with your emotions, your feelings, and the thoughts. Okay, because what you need to do is to deal with the feeling, the feelings and the thoughts. Those are the ones that you need to process. Once you process them, you'll be able to go through the process well. Now, the first one is sharing the story of you and the deceased. Once you have lost someone, even the most significant issue that you wouldn't think of sharing becomes significant. Even the most smallest story of the last call. So now let's assume if you are the one who is going through the issues. Oh, I had not realized there was no light. Thank you. Thank you, Mati. Yes, I have many co-hosts here. Yes. So if you are the one that is going through the loss, it is advisable to put yourself in a place where you can share the story. That is why you can share with the people that you've told you're struggling, either your family or your friends or the people who are around you. Okay, so you can share the story and share it in details. If you do have a friend or a therapist who can listen to you, yes, allow one. Now, if you are the friend or you are the therapist, please, when someone is sharing their story, allow someone to moan, allow them to share their memories in full. Because, most of the times we have a tendency when someone is sharing their stories, you will want to give a solution. You want to give a solution quickly. Mati, that thing is noisy. Yes. You will want to give a solution, a quick solution. You'll say, okay, I understand. Or no, allow them to vent. The way they're venting and they're saying the story in details, that one makes it easier for them. There is this thing that I usually do, and I think I do it until now. I think now I'm getting to a very good place when it comes to the losses that I've had, when it comes to the death of my loved ones. But I used to, whenever it's my dad's memorial day, the day he died, I will post. We are in the era of social media. So whenever I post anything, I will post and I will write. I'll tell him, just go and say hi to mom, tell mom I am doing this at the moment, this. I give them updates, and for me, it is a form of it. It was helping me. For me, it was helping me. So that's one thing. Share your story. Share your story in details. Okay. And if you are the friend, allow the person to share their story, to share it in full. Okay. The second thing is you can make a photo book. There is a photo book or a photo or picture collage. You can have those photos. They've put the photos of their loved ones. Okay. They've put all the photos of their loved ones and then the photos of their loved ones. So every time, the fear that normally someone has when you've lost someone, you always fear that you might end up forgetting the person and their memories might fade, so you'll never remember them. So that is the one thing that normally you feel, oh my goodness, so he's just gone like that. So if you have this photo book or the picture collage, or, you know, if you have it, you just keep it somewhere, or you can be sharing it when you're with your friends. You'll tell them, so these are the photos. You'll show them the memories that you've had, the photos that will bring memories and all that. But one thing I have forgotten, when you are sharing the stories, make sure you're sharing the stories not only of the good memories. There are those memories that, because of course the person was a human. Let's say if it's a person, if the person was a human being, so there are issues you had, you argued sometimes, you quarreled sometimes. So make sure because the idea here is to process the feelings. So for you to process the feelings and the thoughts, there are thoughts of the moments you had that you argued, the moments that you fought, the moments. So make sure you're sharing all the stories. Okay, so I'll read a message, chat from someone here. And who's this? Rose said, please repeat the difference in the loss of Dabda. Okay. Okay, I think if you check on the chat ahead, there is, I think Coach Barbie posted them. So you'll just find them. Just go ahead, Rose. On the top of the chat, you'll find them. Or Coach Barbie, you can just repeat and just paste it again. Okay. And then we do have, and as well, let's not isolate people who are grieving by thinking that they need to be alone. Yes, that's the thing. Most of the times we think that they need to be alone. Actually, nobody wants to be alone. No, in planet Earth, nobody wants to be alone. We are social beings. Nobody always wants to be alone, no matter whatever you're going through. Okay. And then Linda says, I'm still grieving my parents. It's not easy. The loss is my dad made me go into depression.
Unakuja na boda. Wacha kama hachelewi akupeleke mpaka kwa hiyo gate nyingine.
Okay, so let me just mute that. I think
Atafanya niko na meeting tayari.
the person doesn't know. Okay. So she says sees Coach Barbie. She actually wants the dabda, the stages. Yes. Okay. So the loss, Linda says, I'm still grieving my parents. It's not easy. The loss of my dad made me go into depression. I drank a lot. I became an alcoholic, which led to a major surgery. I put my family through hell to cover for the medical bills. God's grace is sufficient. It's very sufficient. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to hear that. But then you can't entirely blame yourself because you are going through something, you know? Yes. Okay. So the other thing is, so the other thing is, so you can make the picture book and then you can write down the beautiful stories. If you don't have anyone to share with, there are people, like for me, the much I did was writing down. So I will I'll write down, you can write down the beautiful stories in a journal. Okay. So once you write them down, you can end up sharing them with your children or with other people. When people come, you'll share with them for them to just read. You can just give them to read, or you can write a letter to the person. You can write a letter to the person. In fact, I saw, there is one guy who wrote a letter, and in the letter, he wrote the letter the letter it was full of emotions. So he has put all the emotions. Make sure you're writing everything, how you feel within that time, how you miss the person, how you know. So writing letter is also important. We do have, you can also log messages. There are some people, let's say this was your friend, you lost your friend, and your friend you used to gist whenever you go somewhere. So you can just write a message to the person, you know what? Yes, I've just gone to our favorite place for drinking coffee, and I'm there and I'm taking, guess who I've just seen? I've seen so and so. You know, you make it as if the person is there. I remember in class when we were doing this grief and loss course, there was an exercise of putting a seat in front of you, just putting a seat in front of you and assume that the person is there. So you're assuming the person is there and you're just telling the person everything. So you're telling the person, you know what, A, B, and C, this and this is happening, this and this is going on, this and this. I am not happy about this because you left me now. I feel I'm alone. I'm this. You express every single emotion. With you expressing every single emotion, that is how you're processing it, and it will make it easier with time. Remember, this is draining and it is overwhelming also. So whenever you feel overwhelmed, you can just relax, pause it, and look for another time also to do the same. Another thing you can do something in their honor. My mom wanted me to be a nurse. I Personally, I don't like being a nurse, I personally, but my mom wanted me to be a nurse. So what I did later on, I work in a hospital now. Later on, I started working in a hospital. But apart from that, there is a job I was doing. She never liked it. So what I did, I stopped the job. For me, I felt I'm doing this in her honor. Let me stop this because this is something she never liked me doing. So let me focus on doing something else. Okay. Yes. So you can either do, let's say or you can either doing something in someone in their honor. It could be also maybe the person liked you singing. So you can just choose to sing a song or record a song and you can just put it on YouTube or somewhere, just post it somewhere, and you've done it in their honor, yes, just do something in their honor. When you do something in someone's honor, it makes them feel that it makes you feel that you've honored the person. Okay. Yes. So another thing, there are people who normally, when I was talking about the letter writing, there are people who can write the letter and they can respond. They're replying to the letter as if it's the person. Sometimes you might be knowing someone very much. Let's say it's your loved one, or it's your sister, or it's your mom, Yes. So like for me, whenever I think it was my mom. One time I was telling my mom, so I was giving her the updates. So I told her, you know what, mom, this and this is happening. So and so is now having 5 babies. This one is having this one is doing this. And by the way, now I'm working in a hospital and this is what I'm doing right now. Mom, I'm sure you would be proud of me right now, this. And then I responded, so if you have that, it is a personal thing. So if you have that strength and you have that courage, you can respond, because I know within that time, I know she's just saying, oh, I'm really proud of you. And and whenever you're doing that and you're writing, you even hear their voices. It's as if you hear the way they used to speak, Yes, that's such, it's so amazing. So for today, you see, we've already exceeded. The Zoom session is normally supposed to be from 6 to 7, but it's already 7:13. So right now, I would want us to have either, if you have a question or something of the sort, but for today, we'll stop it from here. The topic is very wide. As I said, it's a very broad topic, but at least so far, we've captured a few that are very important to us. So Barbara, Linda, I hope you've seen the message that Barbara has wrote for you. Barbara says, Linda, I'm so sorry to hear about your struggles. Losing your parents is incredibly difficult, and it's understandable that it led you to such a challenging time in your life. It's heartening to hear that you've found strength in God's grace. Amen and amen. Okay. And Adwar says, thanks for the inspiring counsel. And then we have Chanda says, thank you so much. Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for joining. So let me just acknowledge everyone. There's some people who joined later on. The people who joined, we have Adwa Bernard. I wouldn't know where Adwa is joining from. If you can type it. We do have yes, it's okay. Yes. Okay. And then, Adwa is joining from Kenya. Karibu sana. We do have someone who logged in with the number. I don't know who it is, but you're welcome. You're welcome. It's nice to have you. Agnes Washeke, thank you for joining and being here all through. And then we do have Angel, I don't know if this is my sister Angela from Malindi. Okay. And then we have Coach Babi. Coach, thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's always an honor to have you. Okay. And then we have Carolina Wamboi joining from Kenya. Mati, wait, you'll speak to them after. Okay. Mati has something to say. Okay. And then we have Chanda Mwanza. I think Chanda is joining from Zambia, if I'm not wrong. The name sounds Zambia. Okay. And then we have Fritz is joining from Dubai. Grace, I don't know where Grace is joining from. And then we have Helen Masharia joining from Kenya. Irene is joining from Kenya. Jesse is joining from the US. Joshua, I'm not so sure where Joshua is joining from. We have Justice is joining from Dubai. Lami is joining from Dubai. Linda is joining from Kenya. Nancy Mathu from Kenya. Patricia is joining from Dubai. Rose Ngatiari is joining from Kenya. And then Mwaka Handue, this name sounds Zambian, so most probably is joining from Zambia. So everyone, it is really an honor. It was truly an honor for having you here. I would love to believe that you've gone with something. And if anyone has a question, we can take one question before we close. Any question you have? We have me here. We have Coach Babi here. Yes, we have Jackie here. So if anyone has, okay, clear and thank you to the point. Okay, Helen says it was to the point. Thank you very much, Helen. Okay, my mom had been logged out. Okay, so okay, so I'm just waiting if we do have anyone who has a question. Otherwise, we'll bring this to an end. Spirituality also helps. Yes, Helen. Very much, sis. Very much, very much. Spirituality really, really helps. Really helps. Okay, so while we wait for the question, we have Mati. Mati, do you have anything to say? Okay. Okay, what would you like to say?
Thank you everyone for joining this Zoom meeting with my Auntie Rozette.
Okay, wow, thank you, Mati. Baba, you have something to say?
Oh, that was sweet.
Yeah, that was sweet. Baba, you have something to say? Okay, come. Yes, okay.
Thank you everyone.
We can't hear you, Baba. Now you're acting you're shy. Okay.
Thank you everyone for joining this Zoom meeting with my Auntie Rozette.
So you're saying everything that Mati has said, Baba.
Oh, welcome.
Okay, Baba, thank you.
Brother,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for this meeting. Is
Okay. Okay. He has something to say. Come.
We love you all.
Okay, we love you too. We love you.
Oh,
Thank
we love you too.
Okay, so let me read the last chats before we. Yes. 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 Okay, so thank you everyone for joining. Sis, you have anything to add? Sis, Jessie?
Oh, I have nothing to add at all. Everything was just laid out perfectly.
Okay.
Things I meant to share, it just laid out perfectly, and Coach Barbara also nailed it. So thank you guys so much. Thank you, ladies.
Yes,
Thank you. God bless
thank you very
you.
much. Okay, guys. Okay, Coach Barbie says it's a great session. By the way, so this is Jessie. Jessie is an author. She's an author of so far 2 books, and I think she's writing her 3rd book. She is based in the US, and since next time, the first session we'll have for you. Yes. Yes.
I actually spoke about the stages.
The next session we
in
will
the
have for
first
you,
book.
at least to speak about your book. Okay. And then Angela asked, will the recording be posted? I joined late. Yes, Angela, if you need, Angel, if you need it, I can send it to you. Okay. Yes, I can send the recording to you if you need it. Okay. And so let me just read the last chats. Okay. Bobby said a great session. And then Angela, you said, okay. And then Nancy said, very enlightening. Okay, so we've come to the end of the session for today. So for those who don't know me, this is your first time joining. My name is Rozette. I am a mental health coach. I am the founder of Hope4Hope Initiative, which rose in the hinge to promote and normalize that it's okay not to be okay, and to further create a safe space for us to be learning from experts from various, we normally learn from various experts all over. Yes, so we normally have 1 session per month for the sake of time, and then that's more of it. So anytime we have the sessions, for those who have joined for the first time, I can add you in the group, but I think most of you are in the same group with JK, which I normally post my, which as I posted today. So I think that will be the case for the next time. And guys, let me just give you a heads up. My mama here, Mom Rose, is she there? Yes, she's a marriage therapist, marriage counseling and therapist. No, she's a marriage and relationship and marriage therapist. Yes, she will be joining us for next month. Yes, so I thought she's still here, so she would have said hi to us, but then that's more of it. So we've come to the end of the session. Thank you very much for joining. And that's more of it. It's truly an honor to host you. In case we'll have the second, the extension of this, I will let you. My mama is here. Mama, you want to say hi to everyone? And mute. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. Okay.
Yes, I've arrived home.
Okay.
just from church. We had a late Sunday service. But I appreciate the learning. I'm learning continually. I learn up to my 80s, 90s.
Okay.
I'm now about 60.
Yes.
I'm celebrating my 60th birthday next year, God willing.
Next year, wow, wow.
Okay.
Thank
you.
Okay.
I appreciate being here, hoping to meet you next month. Thank you, bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Okay, ma. Thank you for thank you for being here, ma. So that's my new mom in town. She's actually a relationship and marriage therapist. She will be joining us next month. She has been, ma, I have to say this. She has been in her marriage for 40 years. She celebrated 40 years last year. So it will truly be an honor to have her. And as she said, she'll be celebrating her 60th birthday this year. So mom, will be honored to have you next month. And for everyone who joined, I love you. I love you. I love you. Thank you for joining. Enjoy your evening. It's Sunday. I hope you went to church. And if you didn't go, the day is not finished yet. You can go for night service. Okay. Like us who are going for night service. Okay. Thank you, everyone. I love you. Enjoy your evening. Bye-bye. Okay, so Agnes says, Agnes, you want to be added in the group? Okay, Agnes, you can just leave your number with the code. Make sure you leave it with the code. Put the country code. Just leave your number with the country code. Whoever wants to be added to my group, you can leave your number with the country code, please. Okay, so Jessica said, I wrote about this topic in my first book, so it means a lot to me. Wow, really? Wow, babes. Okay, so babes, we are supposed to talk about this, okay? And then Caroline said, it's a good job, great job, ladies. Please add me on the WhatsApp group. Please just add your, okay? Yes, I've received Agnes' number and Edward. Adwa. Okay, it's Adwa. Okay. I'm reading weird things. Okay, so we have for Helen, Masharia, Agnes. Okay. Okay, so guys, time is really important. Yes, so next time, please guys, please join on time. The session starts from 6. Normally we give people 10 minutes to join in. Please next time join on time, and it will truly be an honor for us to dive into the next topic if we will not be continuing about this. Okay, yes, so thank you, everyone who wants to be added. Just continue sending. I will add you in the group. Okay, thank you and have a great day. Okay, bye-bye. Special card.